I tried to beat a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon HeartGold using only bald Pokemon, for no particular reason. How did I determine which Pokemon are bald? Easy, by asking my patrons to meticulously vote on each and every single Pokemon in the game. Those that were classified by more than 90% of patrons as bald became my list of eligible encounters. And a quick look at these 19 Pokemon reveals something troubling. None of the Johto starters are bald. I mean, I'd argue Cyndaquil is, but what do I know? Stop cutting to me, I'm self-conscious. So instead of the standard Johto starters, I've got a choice between two of the most quintessential balds in the franchise, Squirtle and Charmander. I picked the latter, named Statham, since a fire type will help me out against the second gym leader Bugsy. And immediately, I feel a deep kinship with Statham. We are the Bald Boys, united by hairless domes and an unwavering zest for life, thrust into a brotherhood strengthened by the shared pressures of societal stigma. They may point, they may laugh, but together they cannot hurt us. Though try they will. On our journey, we soon encounter a mysterious red-headed boy who flaunts his beautiful flowing locks. An obvious provocation, but I let Statham's battle prowess do the talking. No matter how impressive his mane may be, I will not let this child get under my skin. I will take the high road. In Violet City, I meet up with a contact in the Pokemon Center to score a black market egg, which soon hatches into the next member of the Bald Boys, Johnson the Wooper. And he's our only other encounter before it's time to face off against Falkner, yet another foe with hair to spare. He sends out a level 9 Pidgey, and Statham takes the field to cook him like, some type of edible bird. Maybe a penguin? Do people eat penguins? Anyways, Pidgey survives an Ember and hits Statham with a sand attack, so I switch to Johnson as the dinner entree kicks up another accuracy drop. But even a third sand attack doesn't stop Johnson from getting the KO with a water gun. This grants both the Bald Boys enough XP to get to level 14 for the face-off against Falkner's illegally underleveled Pidgeotto. And what happens next is a performance from Johnson that needs to be seen to be believed. Despite 2 accuracy drops, Johnson doesn't miss a single hit as he fires off water gun after water gun. It's jaw-dropping stuff. The type of clinical precision rivaled only by Benjamin Poindexter. Now, despite Johnson's Olympic-level marksmanship, Pidgeotto's ability to roost away any damage means that this is a lost cause. Though, at the very least, Statham does get to come in for free. And the working man immediately shows that he means business by outspeeding and landing a critical hit Ember. At first, things still seem dire, as over the course of a few turns, Pidgeotto heals back up with just a few roosts. But then, exactly when he needs to, Statham lands another critical hit and survives a tackle with 9 HP to spare. Even without that crit, another blaze-boosted Ember would have been more than enough to seal things up. So that right there is the very first gym badge obtained. And with Route 32 unlocked, I can pick up the Old Rod and fish at the Ruins of Alph for a Revo the Poliwag. Then, in Union Cave, I catch Tucci the Quiet Sandshrew, bringing the Bald Boys roster up to 4 Pokemon. Even more exciting is that en route to Azalea Town, Statham starts to evolve. But Charmeleon is not one of my eligible encounters, so like many of my teammates, Statham will forever remain in his basic form. The good news is that he still learns Dragon Rage at level 16, a move that does a guaranteed 40 damage, making it nearly unstoppable in the early game. For example, take the second gym leader Bugsy and his normally very problematic Scyther. With just 52 HP, the quick attacking powerhouse gets ravaged by our first Dragon Rage. A Citrus Berry brings her back into the yellow, and then Bugsy opts to ensure a completely safe victory by setting up with Focus Energy, as our second hit of Blue Flame slices through the Arthropod like a perfectly cooked fish fillet. 2 cocoons later, and the second gym badge is ours. I really had no idea that Charmander would be this good in the Johto early game, though now that we've made it to Goldenrod City, I'm expecting Statham's best days to be behind us. Whitney's Miltank is terrifying, and in order to make it through this fight, we're gonna need to add 1 more member to the Bald Boys, or 6 more members depending on how you count it, because from a tree in the national park, I catch Stuart the Execute. Like Statham and Tucci, he's bound to his baby form, but this telepathic Baldy gets access to Leech Seed, which will give us ample recovery against Whitney's Miltank. So as our battle begins, my plan is to set Stuart up for success. Against Clefairy, Statham uses a Dragon Rage to bring her down into healing range. I luck out with a double slap miss before Whitney burns her first of 2 super potions, and we hit another Dragon Rage for free. Then then it's a switch to our excellent new teammate, which conveniently causes Clefairy's Mimic to fail. So on the next turn, we set up a Leech Seed as Clefairy now successfully connects with her second Mimic, though at this point, if I can quote the incomparable Joanna Noel Levesque, it's just too little too late. After a Protect, Clefairy falls to Leech Seed Chip, and Stuart is now perfectly primed for the showdown against Miltank. Our only goal is to get off a Leech Seed, but with the potential for Infatuation from Attract and flinches from Stomps, I'm not expecting this to be easy. Never mind, we get it on the very first turn. Nice! With Protect and the natural physical bulk of both Stuart and Tucci, it's easy and fairly safe to stall out Miltank. I thought that it would be a bit harder, since in theory she can always recover some HP by housing a piping hot glass of her own milk. I mean, that's an objectively weird thing to do in the middle of a fight, right? Ooh, and it seems like Cow has taken a real beating so far. This fight is all but over. Unless... what the hell? Did Cow just drink her own milk? Ooh, and that is a hard hit. Man goes down, Cow wins. That's right, this is a boxing match between a cow and a human man, apparently. People paid to see this. The crowd's going wild. Well, for some reason, Miltank just never uses milk drink. So that's badge number 3, baby. And with the new level cap, we can at long last evolve a Pokemon. I didn't think it was possible, but Johnson just might be even balder than before. Prior to leaving Goldenrod City, I make sure to stop by the game corner to purchase an Ekans named Jackson. Now, you may be wondering why I didn't get this Pokemon before the fight against Whitney, and the answer is that on Cerebi.net, it states that this Ekans is at level 20, which would have been over the level cap. If someone could politely let Joe Cerebi know about this mistake, that'd be great. Anyways, in Mount Mortar, I catch my 7th teammate, Strong the Geodude. Hey, wait a minute, Geodude's not an eligible encounter. Correct, and neither is Graveler. But Golem is. Personally, I'm not sure what makes this guy more bald than this guy, but again, what do I know? Fine, I'll take off the hat. Why are you doing this? We're all the same person. You realize that this is just gonna make strangers think that you're okay with being made fun of, even though you're not. The comments are gonna hurt your feelings. You're doing this to yourself. Hey, Flygon? What's up, Garchomp FJ? Do I have to go bald too? Honestly, I haven't really thought about that. Just like I haven't thought about my cybersecurity ever since I started using the sponsor of this video, NordVPN. So, is that a no? Let's talk about it later. Folks, at this point, we all know what VPN stands for. Video... Potato... Virtual Private Network! Correct! That was a test. But NordVPN is so much more than the world's lead virtual private network. It's now evolved into an all-in-one digital security powerhouse featuring a next-generation antivirus to help protect users from scams, fake shops, and everyday threats. The internet is a scary place. Children yelling at you for mispronouncing Pokemon names, adults yelling at you for mispronouncing Pokemon names. And everywhere you look, there's malware, phishing scams, online trackers, bots offering once-in-a-lifetime business opportunities multiple times. With NordVPN, you can get protection from these common threats with one digital security app on up to 10 different devices. And NordVPN's interface is extremely simple to use. Connect to a VPN with the click of a button, change digital locations with ease, track ongoing blocked threats, and detect data leaks all in one place. And if you don't like what you see, NordVPN also has a 30-day money-back guarantee. But the best deal on NordVPN is through my link, so get this exclusive deal and 4 additional bonus months for free at nordvpn.com/Flygon or in the link in the description down below. Thanks so much to NordVPN for sponsoring this video. Now, let's get back to the challenge. After a quick trade with Uncle Jimtendo, Strong evolves into the eligible Golem. And right at the level cap, so too does Arivo into Poliwhirl. But even with her brand new pair of gloved appendages, Arivo's not strong enough to take on Morty's shadow balling Gengar. We're gonna need more power, and the only way to do it is by braving the Pokeathlon. I've oft soliloquied about the perils of this vicious and brutal contest, the trials that await anyone foolish enough to wander through those doors. And yet, But here I was again, working my Pokemon like dogs to scrape together enough points for a victory. I feel dirty, contributing to a system I seek to dismantle, and yet it is the only way forward. The only way to purchase a Water Stone that I can use to evolve a Revo into her final form, granting enough power and bulk to maybe, just maybe, face off against the Phantom of Ecruteak City. Though a Revo cannot do it alone. So as the battle against Morty begins, I lead with Statham, who immediately outspeeds and one-shots Ghastly with a Shadow Claw. As Gengar comes in second, the plan is to stay in on a Hypnosis and use our held Chesto Berry to deal enough damage with Dragon Rage for a Revo's payback to then get the KO. But then Statham is trapped. I can't switch him out, so my starter now has to take the kill or perish. And against a Gengar, death is all but inevitable. Except Gengar's Hypnosis misses. Then Statham's Shadow Claw brings our overpowered foe down to about 25%, forcing Morty to burn a Hyper Potion. Our second Dragon Rage now does over 50%, so if Gengar goes for another Hypnosis, our Chesto Berry will ensure a victory. By the skin of his tiny little chompers, the beautiful bald bastard survives. David lives as Goliath falls. And without his ace, Morty is nothing. Revo snuffs out his two remaining haunters with a few surfs, and despite all odds, we remain deathless through 4 gym badges. This brings me and the Bald Boys to what are generally the fastest splits of any HeartGold or Soul Silver playthrough. In Cyanwood City, I pick up Shucky the Shuckle before challenging Chuck and his 2-hole Pokemon. The meathead's got a receding hairline and an impressive dad bod, though neither are enough to thwart Stuart. With Leech Seed and Confusion, aided by a zoom lens, he easily bests Primeape, though it's actually Johnson who's out on the field as the cranky Simian falls. This means that we can quite easily hit Poliwrath with a Yawn before switching back to Stuart, setting up another Leech Seed, and then ultimately taking the KO with what is, by my count, our 8th Confusion of the fight. From there, I head west of Cyanwood City to Route 48, where I encounter a Diglett, who, along with Dugtrio, is the only Pokemon voted to be 100% bald. Do you disagree? Well, then become a patron today so that you can spend your free time voting on the anatomy of Pokemon. Plus, it's the best way to support the channel. I named my new little nugget Diesel, and he soon evolves into the Menage a Trois that is his speedy final form. And speaking of speedy final forms, while clearing through Rocket Hideout, I catch Pitbull! Dale! The Electrode. But what about the others? Kill the spares. Okie dokie. You know, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled is convincing us that the outcomes of our lives are shaped by meritocracy, when the difference between the haves and the have-nots could be something as trivial as being the closest electrode to the door. Price is next, and the whole plan here is to have a Revo out and the rain set up as Piloswine comes in so that we can snag an easy KO. The issue is that Seal can drop our speed with Icy Wind, so it takes a fair bit of maneuvering, all of which ends up being a massive waste of time, since it's Dugong who comes in second, not Piloswine. This is because Dugong knows Rest, which the AI sees as a super effective Psychic-type move. Bit of an oopsie-daisy on my part, but by using Screech with Pitbull, Dale, I once again get a Revo set up under rain so that once she takes the KO on Dugong, Piloswine comes in and immediately falls to a boosted Surf. Then it's a quick trip to the gym in Olivine City where Statham, rocking a snazzy pair of choice specs, melts all 3 of Jasmine's steel types with a trifecta of flamethrowers for Johto's penultimate badge. That means that 9 of the first 7 gym leaders' 19 Pokemon were all taken out by a rinky-dink Charmander. One, mind you, that should have died in Ecruteak City. Statham is a beast. So from here, it's time to climb the Goldenrod radio tower and put a stop to Team Rocket once and for all. This fight is super easy. Johnson earthquakes the pooches and surfs the coughing. The world is saved, so back down we go. East of Mahogany Town on Route 44, I welcome Rose the Lickitung, truly one of the Pokemon of all time. The Mandalorian and Grogu of Pokemon, if you will. Anyways, after arriving in Blackthorn City, I make a trip to the Dark Cave where I find a lovely Wobbuffet who's just reeking of feminine beauty. These things can be pretty scary to catch since I can't switch, and I also run the risk of triggering Counter or Mirror Coat, so I make sure to spam Yawn until she falls asleep. And then all I need to do is lightly tap her with a Mud Shot for a little bit of damage. Alright, moving on. Time for the fight against the Dragon Master Claire. As usual, her biggest threat is her Sniper Kingdra. Prior to that, Pitbull kills Gyarados with a single Thunderbolt and then waits to get paralyzed by Dragonair's Thunder Wave to ensure a safer switch to a Revo on a Dragon Pulse. So with a Choice Specs, 2 Ice Beams pick up a wicked pair of kills on the twins, leaving Claire with her ace. She outspeeds my Gloved Frog to land a Smokescreen, though our Ice Beam still connects. Then it's a switch to Shucky for his debut, but he's not strong enough to tank a Dragon Pulse and a Hydro Pump, so back into his Pokeball he goes, never to be seen again. I don't really love keeping a Revo in here because one Sniper boosted crit and she's dead, but what other choice do I have? Thankfully, another Smokescreen means that we're safe for now as our Ice Beam once again connects. Well, would you look at that. The critter has become the Critty, swiftly ending what could have been an exceptionally difficult battle. Looks like gravity isn't the only thing that a Revo can defy. Prior to challenging the Pokemon League, we need to defeat the 5 Kimono girls in back-to-back fights. Though here, Diesel really shifts into gear and one-shots 3 of the 5 evolutions. Meanwhile, Umbreon eventually falls to an Earthquake from Strong, and Vaporeon goes down to a single Thunderbolt from Pitbull! Mr. Worldwide also pays respect to Hobo, and almost single-handedly sweeps my rival for the final time, needing only the slightest of assists from Diesel against Sneasel and Magneton. So just like that, we've made it to the Indigo Plateau, steps away from this playthrough's grandest challenge so far. In order to win this and to potentially do it deathless, I'm gonna need to assemble an elite task force comprised of the Bald Boys' best and brightest. So naturally, my first choice is Statham. That's right, baby, we're bringing Charmander to the Elite Four. And Stuart the Execute. Our remaining 4 teammates are a bit more expected, but this is absolutely the oddest final team I've used in a long time. Though if it works, so let's see if they've got what it takes. Will and his psychic types are first. His lead Xatu immediately falls to a Thunderbolt from Pitbull! But that brings in Jinx, so I hard switch to Stuart on a botched Lovely Kiss. Inconvenient because I actually need Stuart to be asleep so that we can ensure that Jinx will use Ice Punch. Fortunately, she goes for a second Lovely Kiss and this time connects, ensuring that I can now safely switch to Statham on a resisted hit. Then a Flamethrower just gets the clean KO. That brings in Slowbro, so I switch to Pitbull! Unfortunately, they get confused by a Water Pulse and hit themselves in confusion on the following turn. The good news is that Slowbro just uses Curse, so it's safe to stay in for another turn, and this time Mr. 305 doesn't disappoint and connects for another kill. That brings in Exeggutor, so I switch to Johnson since Will's Grass type doesn't actually know a Grass type move. She does, however, know Hypnosis, and I goofed by giving Johnson a Person Berry instead of a Chesto Berry. Big mistake, because without getting off a Yawn, we're in a bit of trouble. I rather illogically decide to risk a critical hit for the chance at a 1-turn wake up. Thankfully, the Psychic doesn't crit, and Johnson actually wakes up. Plot armor level luck on that one, because on the following turn, I can switch back to Stuart on an Egg Bomb that misses. No egg-on-egg violence here, ensuring that Exeggutor is taking a snooze for the free switch to Statham, who rips another Flamethrower for his second KO of the fight. Last is Will's Ace Xatu, and though it takes a few turns of switching between Pitbull and Stuart to get my speeder in without getting confused by a Confuse Ray, eventually we do, and a Thunderbolt seals up the dub. So second is Koga, and this poor schmuck is not remotely prepared for the one-man army that is Statham. His lead Ariados burnt to a crisp. That brings in Muck. Now, I was expecting Fortress, but Muck is fine too. Statham is frail enough that Koga sees a KO with Gunk Shot, ensuring a riskless switch to Strong, who shrugs off the quad-resisted hit, and then claps back with a massive EQ for the KO before Muck can start setting up with Minimize. That now brings in Fortress, so risking the turn 1 explosion, I bring Statham back in, and it's just a failed Protect. Koga is a coward. Another flamethrower picks up the little lizard's 4th kill of the Pokemon League and brings out Koga's ace Crobat. I goof a little by switching to Strong. In hindsight, Blitzball
Dale.
would have been better since they can snipe the Speedster with a Thunderbolt for the Oko. Strong, on the other hand, needs to use 80% accurate Rock Blasts, though given how little damage he takes from Crobat's attacks, we've got plenty of time. Time which we end up not needing as we take the kill after just 3 turns. Last is Venomoth, so it's back to Statham, who dodges a Supersonic, and then one more flamethrower gets KO number 5. Bruno is the penultimate member of the Elite Four, and Statham will be fully sitting this one out. Instead, we'll be fighting our foe's Brawn with the combined brain power of 6 psychically charged eggs. This is a weird Pokemon. Stuart uses a combination of Zoom Lens boosted Leech Seed and fairly powerful Psychics to easily take down Hitmontop. Tarantino's favorite Hitmon comes in next, so I switch to a Revo on a predicted Blaze Kick. I'm hoping that Bruno uses a Swagger, which will trigger our Person Berry and grant a free attack boost, but after we use a Rain Dance, Hitmonlee simply opts for a Focus Energy, so the risk of getting kicked in the face by a high jump kick ain't worth the reward. I just take the clean KO with a Waterfall as the third of the Hitmon bros takes the field. This one isn't quite as defensively frail as his brother, so he survives a Waterfall to rip a pretty powerful Thunder Punch. Or he would if the poor sucker didn't get flinched. Another free KO for a Revo. That brings in Machamp, so it's time to abuse his no guard ability to switch to Stuart and hit a Sleep Powder that's guaranteed to connect. Then with Leech Seed and Psychics, Machamp falls before he even wakes up. So last is Onix, who a Revo comes in on to kill with a clean Waterfall. Easiest win so far. Last though is Karen, and as usual she's got a couple tricky threats, though her ace Houndoom is at least graciously hard-walled by my water fighting amphibian. First though is the double teaming Umbreon, and my plan is to quickly rip 2 Choice Specs Thunderbolts for the guaranteed 2-shot. Unfortunately, things go awry when our first Thunderbolt paralyzes, triggering Umbreon Synchronize, which subsequently also paralyzes us. You might think that's not a big deal since Umbreon then gets fully paralyzed, but not to be outdone, Blitzball
Dale.
then also gets paralyzed, allowing Umbreon to connect with a Confuse Ray. So, not wanting to deal with confusion and paralysis, I switch to Johnson as Umbreon gets paralyzed again. Knowing that Earthquake won't get the KO, I go for a Mud Shot to prevent Karen from healing, but then Joe Kingman here lands a critical hit, which means that Karen's gonna heal anyways. If I had a nickel for every time Johnson screwed me with a critical hit Mud Shot during this playthrough, I'd have 2 nickels. You can finish the rest of the quote in your head. So after Karen heals and we connect with a Yawn, the Mud Shot ensures that we outspeed to connect with at least 1 Earthquake before Umbreon starts setting up Double Team. But then, this bald bozo proceeds to miss not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 Earthquakes in a row. The Cloth of Averages helps out by ensuring maximum sleep turns on Umbreon, so what would otherwise be a total disaster ends up just being little more than a minor pain in the ass. After finally connecting with a second Earthquake, I hit a Yawn, which can never miss, and then eventually connect with the third hit needed to take the very first KO of the fight. Fortunately, the next few of Karen's Pokemon are a fair bit easier. Our grass weakness baits in Vileplume, so I hard switch to Statham on a Whiff Stun Spore. This lets us rip our classic Flamethrower, though it's barely not enough for the KO. Fortunately, it doesn't matter since Vileplume takes a big steamy dump in her bed by missing a second Stun Spore. On the off chance that Karen switches into Houndoom to trigger Flash Fire, I use a Dragon Rage for the finishing blow, bringing in Gengar third. This thing has a weird, aka stupid moveset, which makes Stuart a pretty solid wall thanks to slow and steady damage with Leech Seed. Once we land a Sleep Powder so that Gengar can't click Destiny Bond, we rip a super effective Psychic that proves to be just enough damage for the KO. These NFEs are putting in work, man. Murkrow is 4th, and annoying Whirlwinds aside, Strong is free to come in and take the kill with a Rock Blast, leaving Houndoom as Karen's ace and final Pokemon. Thankfully, Arivo is faster, so after switching in on a nasty plot, she uses a Waterfall to take the final KO of the Elite Four. Strong Pokemon, weak Pokemon, that is only the selfish perception of people. Truly skilled trainers should try to win with Bald Pokemon. Hell yeah, baby, Bald is beautiful. Bald for President 2028. With that, we've made it to the final fight of the Pokemon League. The showdown against Lance and his team of 6 powerful flying types. This fight can be pretty tricky to win and even trickier to win deathless, but that's my goal. My Bald boys have become my family. As I said at the beginning of this journey, Balds together strong. Lance leads with his Gyarados, and although I could easily take the KO with a single Thunderbolt from Pitbull, I decide to go a different route, one that involves setting up Leech Seed with Stuart. The issue is that we've got to risk a flinch or a freeze from Ice Fang to do it. So as Gyarados chomps down on breakfast, I hold my breath. Phew! Stuart connects with his Leech Seed. From here, it's a series of protecting for more recovery and switching to Statham on resisted Ice Fangs. Then he protects and baiting Waterfall switches back to Stuart. Through this process, we can slowly chip away at Gyarados until Lance uses a full restore. Then we do it some more, but eventually I switch to a Revo, completely for free thanks to her water immunity, and take the KO with a Choice Specs Ice Beam. The reason for all of this is that both of Lance's level 49 Dragonite know electric type attacks, which immediately baits them out next. And because of their naive natures, Arivo's choice-locked Ice Beams are enough for 2 back-to-back KOs. All of a sudden, we're halfway through Lance's team. Though Aerodactyl is both faster and stronger than Arivo, so I gotta bail and bring in Johnson on an Aerial Ace. Again, Pitbull! Might seem like a better choice, but I need to prepare for what's still to come. And by using Yawn to ensure that Aerodactyl falls asleep after I switch to Strong on a 3rd Aerial Ace, we should be in a solid position, especially since on Aerodactyl's turn of mandatory sleep, Strong lands a critical hit with his 2nd hit from Rock Blast to guarantee the KO. He's now at nearly full HP and ready to take an outrage from Lance's mighty ace, but I'm hoping that without the chance to see a kill here, Lance will waste a turn using Safeguard. And he does, so Strong gets off a Rock Blast completely for free, though he falls short of even triggering a Citrus Berry thanks to a measly 2 hits. So now Strong is gonna have to dodge a crit. Dragonite rips a full force outrage, Strong's HP bar drops, but he survives and connects with another Zoom Lens boosted Rock Blast that once again stops at just 2 freaking hits. Come on, man. Now is not the time to be underperforming. This means that I have a hard decision to make. I can either sacrifice a Pokemon or risk a Revo to a critical hit. She always lives a non-crit outrage, but if she falls, Dragonite does have the potential to sweep the rest of my team. It is always better to make a sacrifice to ensure the safe switch. But that is not what the Bald Boys do. We stick together. If one of us lives, we all live. And if one of us dies, then we all die. Outrage comes out. And victory is ours! With the sun shining on her hairless head brighter than ever before, Arivo rips an Ice Beam to kill Dragonite. Lance is left with just his Charizard, but after sitting on the bench for this entire fight, Pitbull takes the field to eat an Air Slash and rip a massive magnet-boosted Thunderbolt for the final KO of the Pokemon League, earning the Bald Boys a hard-earned, deathless spot in the Hall of Fame. Though of course, our journey does not end there, for there's an entire other region in which to spread the truth of bald supremacy, an entire 8 other gym badges to obtain, and one last ultimate trainer to defeat before we've officially become champions. As usual, the Cantonian gym leaders require little more than identifying super effective type matchups. Almost every Pokemon is one-shot by the appropriate counter, save for a slight miscalculation against Erica's Blossom, who survives a Choice Specs Flamethrower and comes one critical hit away from taking down Statham with a Solar Beam. But if you aim for the king, you best not miss, and Blossom absolutely missed. The final Cantonian gym leader, Blue, tends to be a bit tricky thanks to his eclectic collection of powerful attackers. His lead is a strong Trick Room setting Exeggutor, though like with almost every other grass type in the game, he too joins Statham's ever-growing list of kills. Can we just appreciate that my boy is putting in this much work even in the post-game? You really gotta respect the little dude. He baits in Rhydon, so I switch to a Revo on what ends up being the better 50-50 between Stone Edge and Earthquake, especially on account of a critical hit. Regardless, our Mystic Water boosted Waterfall gets the KO and baits in Blue's Ace Pidgeot. We should be fine since this one can't Mega Evolve. A simple switch to Pitbull
Dale.
on an Air Slash, and one Thunderbolt later, we're now facing off against Blue's Machamp, who is probably one of the funnest Pokemon to absolutely abuse. Thanks to No Guard, we can again land a guaranteed Sleep Powder with Stuart, ensuring the completely safe switch to Diesel, who proceeds to rip a guaranteed Fissure for an immediate one-hit KO. And even better, he baits a Waterfall from Gyarados, who gets a Revo back to nearly full HP. But then, on the switch to Pitbull,
Dale.
Gyarados goes for a Dragon Dance. Just kidding, Mr. 140 base speed still easily outspeeds a +1 Gyarados, so all that's left is an Arcanine who really can't touch strong. It just takes shrugging off the combo of Flare Blitz and Dragon Pulse, which Arcanine can learn for some reason, before we can get the clean KO with an Earthquake to earn us the 16th gym badge. All that's left is the showdown against Trainer Red at the top of Mount Silver. So on the Ides of March, to ensure Diamond Dust instead of hail, the Bald Boys' final battle begins. Red leads with his level 88 Pikachu, which is embarrassing. Maybe evolve your weak-ass starter, you loser. Now, let's pause here. I'm assuming that this is probably not your first Flag on HG video, so if you had to guess, what do you think happens here? Is it A, an Earthquake from a fast physical attacker immediately one-shots Pikachu?
What are B and C?
There are no B and C. Diesel kills Pikachu like 12 times over, and baits in Red's significantly more problematic Lapra. For starters, we set up Stealth Rock as Lapra connects with a Blizzard that would kill the painfully frail Doug trio in most circumstances, but in this circumstance, Diesel is holding a Focus Sash, so our Deathless run lives on. Of course, I did kind of mess up here because I was hoping for the Stealth Rock's damage to chip Lapra down to 75%. Without that, Pitbull
Dale.
does not get the KO with a Thunderbolt. And unfortunately, Arivo, who can come in on a Brine, does not have the most optimal moveset for dealing damage to the Water-Ice type. Poliwrath's Gen 4 fighting type options are abysmal, especially because you can't get the Brick Break TM in a standard playthrough, but even Rock Smash would have been better than what I have here. Alas, the best I can do is a bit of chip with Waterfall. Hopefully it's enough, because we can't afford to stay in on another Psychic. So my Speedy Orb takes the stage, Psychic chips for fairly minimal damage, and then our Thunderbolt comes out. But Lapra survives with a Sliver, and Blizzard misses. Seems like RNGesus is an honorary member of the Bald Boys because we are getting lucky. With Red's second Pokemon down and no other teammates to hit my pure electric type for super effective damage, the AI is forced to bring in Blastoise, who with the chip damage from Stealth Rock is perfectly primed to fall to another magnet boosted Thunderbolt. 3 down, 3 to go. Snorlax is 4th, so it's off to Strong, who's an excellent counter other than the Chubby Bear's random Blizzard spam. So we gotta stall those out, first with a Protect and then with a switch to a Revo, though that one ends up missing. I decide to stay in and rip a Waterfall for solid damage as Snorlax retaliates with a Shadow Ball. So after protecting to reveal that he's going for another, I just switch to Johnson. But my heart drops as Red rips a massive Giga Impact and Johnson's HP bar plummets. Is this the end of my deathless run? 3 Pokemon away from the finish? No. The smashing machine lives, and a citrus berry brings him back into the green. On Snorlax's recharge turn, I hit him with a yawn, and then switch to Strong on another significantly less threatening Giga Impact. To avoid healing, I start with a Rock Climb, though that misses, so now I'm risking a 1-turn sleep as we go for another. Thankfully, that does not come to pass, so with Snorlax squarely asleep, an Earthquake puts him out of his misery and baits in Venusaur. He sees the kill with a Giga Drain, so without risk of getting put to sleep via sleep powder, I hard switch to Statham. Now, Venusaur is bulky enough to survive a flamethrower even with a choice specs. But we're not going for a flamethrower. Courtesy of fellow bald boy Blaine, Statham rips a massive 140 base power overheat, thankfully connecting for his final KO of the playthrough. Fittingly, Red is left with his pathetic Charizard, a pale imitation of Statham's unparalleled greatness. And so, for one last encore, Mr. Worldwide takes the stage, shrugging off an air slash and ripping a bone-shattering thunderbolt to KO Charizard, winning us not just the fight against Red, but the entire run completely deathless. This was a very, very fun run, and I am genuinely stunned at how useful both Statham the Charmander and Stuart the Execute ended up being throughout the entire playthrough. It really made me gain a new appreciation for those 2 Pokemon, which is one of the things I love the most about Nuzlocke. Speaking of, thank you all so much for the kind words after my Let's Go Pikachu video. I wasn't able to respond to all of them, but I really do appreciate each and every comment. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Or don't, I don't know, but stay tuned for more Nuzlocke content. And until then, remember to always, always, always be nice to me in the comments or I'll cry.